Every human enters an age where there's a necessity to leave a legacy, to leave something of importance, to have something that can remind us that we can be great if we choose to be great. For me, it was this boat. I found something that had old bones, but I knew should not be disregarded for many, many reasons. We ended up purchasing the boat as is. It had enough issues. The fortunate part is that the engines had just been rebuilt, and we really, really valued that. So we took that as an asset, purchased it, started looking around, and realized that while it had old bones, it didn't have much meaning as far as what a modern yacht should look, feel, flow like. The first project became to find a designer, and we found Destry Darr. She immediately had great ideas, so we felt very, very comfortable. And we moved forward with sort of a principal part of this, which was the environmental impact that we were going to have. And it's not just the products or the materials that we're using or the way they're manufactured, but it was also sound and treating sound as pollution. And I have a love of records and analog music. And so how do you marry the two in an environment that's essentially pretty loud, especially on an older boat where we didn't have sound attenuation, and would allow us to have an environment that's in essence a quiet enough level to where noise wasn't a pollution, to where I could play an analog record, enjoy it as a peaceful moment that it can provide.
One of the biggest things was the ceilings, which I always say is the largest real estate on a boat. You walk in and the ceilings not only were dark, which really becomes heavy and lowers the ceiling overall. But not only that, but the ceilings were actually much lower than they are now. And we just took everything down to see how far we could go. And we did. We took them up as high as we could go, which then we had to see what we could do with the supplies and the returns for the HVAC. It wasn't until after we did that we started to relocate everything, all of the supplies and returns.
With the AC, realizing that while before these units were run out of the doghouse and sort of all the return was central and down the passageway on the port side. And so each quarter of the room has its own supply and return that also allow us to put smaller units, which made less sound, that allow us to baffle those units and to add soundproofing, not just in ceilings and walls, but also through the baffling system. We have a lot of things here that are absorbing sound as opposed to reflecting sound. And then we did that through products, which really was all you guys' research, which how do we get to create an environment to where we can make that a topic of discussion when people are on the boat? And your research on the products that you did allows me to do that.
It's always a challenge to find higher end materials that are eco-friendly. We used wool carpet down below. You know, all of your wool coverings are a natural product. It's the first time we've ever done a water-based finish. Our glasses are recycled glasses. The Cambria quartz and silestone quartz is a sustainable product. You know, our Italian linens are all eco-friendly. One of the first questions I always ask my clients is how they plan to use the boat. You didn't intend to charter. You planned to eat in the flybridge, eat on the aft deck, eat in the formal dining. Another very important aspect, this particular boat doesn't have the full walk-arounds. We had to plan for the crew to go through the flybridge into the pilot house or through the port or starboard entries into the galley. What my suggestion was at that point was creating a door. And I think this space does end up being a very soothing space, and that along with all of the sound attenuation that was incorporated as well.
You pitched to me the importance of creating sort of my sacred space. And my request to you was, can we do the same for the crew? It's really great to know that they have their own space, they can enjoy, they can spread their wings. We also want to get them excited about being on this boat. And so our promise to them is, look, 2 weeks a year, I'm going to need all the staterooms, including the VIP. And yet it converts from the crew quarter into a queen stateroom.
They're perfectly comfortable. They're larger than many crew-size beds.
I knew that I was interested in mid-century, and I fell in love with everything that was mid-century.
You wanted everything to be purposeful, that you wanted everything to be authentic. And I remember the very first pieces that you mentioned to me were these Eames chairs. and Noguchi cocktail table, and the Nakashima conoid dining table and chairs. The HVAC grills have that linear design, which we mimicked in the design of the stairwall. So everything does have a purpose and a function. I was very happy about that.
When I walk people through this boat and I tell them about every piece, it's literally every step. We start into the boat, you look to the right, there's a 1550s map of the world. One of the first of the world is actually the original printing was a few decades earlier. It was reprinted in 1550 and then 1575. We have the 1550 version. You walk a little further, you start talking about the Eames chairs. You walk a little further, you start talking about, or the Noguchi table, you talk a little further, there's a 1972 Thorns. You walk a little further, we have a table by George Nakashima. A little further, another map showing California is separated and trying to explain to people as to why people felt that way. You walk a little further, you get into a galley that was built as a commercial kitchen. We value food, both Italian and Japanese. Extra refrigeration, everything is stainless steel. Everything was a collaboration and no one ever felt like they were above everybody else. I'm very thankful for that, and that I think flowed very well and worked out very well.
You sent me a few photos of Japanese rock gardens where they had the raked sand in different geometric shapes. So I thought they were perfect to bring in on some materials. Also, we can see those on the new headboard design that we completely changed in the master stateroom because it was a very dated design. So we changed the entire headboard wall and ceiling. And then working from that, we came up with another design for the queen headboard. Again, using a more linear mid-century design for that wall. You also told me a very meaningful story about the meaning of cranes in the Japanese culture. So we took one special wall in each room to do a wallpaper. Another special piece in the foyer is the kimono.
It's not like you're walking down the stairs and all of a sudden you feel like you're in Japan, but you feel like you're in a space that's honoring another culture. We ended up selecting that the cranes should be flying out towards the foyer that has kimonos and cherry blossoms, and then going into the master shower, this beautiful tile piece with cherry blossoms there.
But it's also part of mid-century, the natural idea. Speaking of which, your falling water faucets, which offset the faucet to one side with the handles to the corner.
We have that Japanese teapot. That took months to be made, but it means a lot to my wife that this boat values her also. So as you flow up, it became evident to me that this boat was meant for chartering, and that's not how we use it. It was loud up there. The engine intake was coming from starboard of the jacuzzi, and then the latest Westports, they moved it outside. That's something that I saw from them. It was genius, and so we decided to do the same. That freed up a whole lot of space, got rid of the jacuzzi. We covered it and made it into a huge storage space, changed the settee to be L-shaped as opposed to, let's say, at an angle, and then enclosed the whole bridge. That looks great. Jet ski looks great, and all the extra storage, it worked out great.
You know, going back to the pilot house, pulling all the equipment forward and researching all of the proper angles that it needed to be, that really was a great move. Again, another Westport design is having that coffee station on the port side. You wanted to have your big, beautiful
Giga 10.
Coffee.
I love my coffee.
coffee station there. I think we had that all designed, but then we realized that you had to be able to access the top of the coffee station. But it all worked out because we were able to have the slide out of the stone. So it really worked out nicely to do that.
There was something beautiful about what you and I were achieving here. And somewhere where we figured out that the only way to get this done was to start over. Our Japanese heritage, my wife is Japanese, I'm Italian, and the Great Wave of Kanagawa. And the Great Wave of Kanagawa was designing to overcome. So all of these things was a sense of overcoming. So we took the wave, put it as our logo, put it on the door, and again, something that had meaning. The name of the boat had meaning. The logo of the boat had meaning in the sense of overcoming. And some people are lucky enough to do this multitudes of time, and some of us can expect this to hopefully do it once. I wanted this to be my one time. It was a relentless pursuit of perfection, and it needed to be. If I'm like every other boat owner, it's for sale the moment I finish it and I start my next project. But damn it, it's gonna be something meaningful.